Chapter 2096. That sword light made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. That was definitely a terrifying expert, definitely not an ordinary empty emperor. Peak empty emperor. Swoosh. Lu Ming displayed his extreme speed, his body constantly changing, like a bolt of lightning, extremely fast, trying his best to avoid the sword light. In the end, the sword light slashed down, and Lu Ming dodged it. However, there were still aftershocks that swept Lu Ming. Lu Ming groaned, and his body flew far away. In the air, Lu Ming coughed up blood. When he was about to land, Lu Ming struck out a palm, and a palm force bombarded the ground. Lu Ming borrowed the force, and his body drifted forward faster. A peak void emperor was invincible. He was too powerful. He could kill Lu Ming in one move. Lu Ming could only escape, but it was a terrible crisis. Now, no one could help him, and he could only rely on himself. In the sky, a black-robed man wearing a death mask appeared, and his body was filled with incomparable cold killing intent. If one could see through the mask, they would definitely see that this person's face was cold and gloomy. He glanced around and saw the remaining assassins, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He had sent so many experts, all of whom were in the martial emperor realm, to assassinate a junior who was still in the saint realm, but they could not kill him, and so many of his own people had died. If this spread out, it would be a great blow to the reputation of the Death Nation. Therefore Lu Ming must die. Swoosh. He slashed with his sword again, and a ray of sword gleam charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but this time was even worse. The sword edge brushed past him, and his body was almost split in half. There was a 1-meter-long sword wound on his body, and it was so deep that his bones could be seen, and even his internal organs could be seen wriggling. However, Lu Ming did not stop, and he continued to rush forward. In front, there was a large pit, and it was covered with bones. It's here! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Kill! High up in the air, the expert wearing the Death God mask saw that his 2 moves had failed to kill Lu Ming, and his killing intent became even colder. Endless sword light bloomed in his hand, and hundreds of sword lights appeared in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of sword lights, densely packed from all directions, pierced towards Lu Ming. Hundreds of sword lights had completely sealed off Lu Ming's escape route. This was a sure kill move, executed by a peak illusionary emperor. Lu Ming had nowhere to run. In an instant, hundreds of sword lights all struck Lu Ming, drowning him. There was a violent rumble, bones flew everywhere, dust flew, and Lu Ming let out an unwilling roar. After that, there was no more movement. When the dust settled, there was nothing left. With a flash, a few black-robed figures flew over and landed on the ground. Above them, the expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask also descended from the air. Is Lu Ming dead? He must be dead. Under Lord's attack, not even his bones are left. The black-robed figures spoke one after another. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask scanned the surroundings with his spiritual consciousness and even penetrated deep into the ground, but he did not find anything unusual. Then he stretched out his hand, and a storage ring flew out from among the bones and landed in his hand. There were bloodstains on the storage ring. He sensed it and knew that it was Lu Ming's aura. Lu Ming should be dead. His bones have merged with the bones here, leaving only a storage ring. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask said. He was very confident that under that move, Lu Ming would have died without a doubt. In that instant, Lu Ming could not have escaped. There was only one explanation: Lu Ming was dead, and not even his bones were left. The storage ring was the best explanation. This kid is really a freak. He's too terrifying. He can control 2 supreme laws. Fortunately, Lord came. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the kid escaped. The other black-robed figures flattered. He is indeed a freak. All right, let's hurry and leave. The news will spread soon. I'm afraid the experts of Destiny City will be here soon. Also, in 2 days, spread the news that the Son of Chaos was killed by us. It will definitely shock the world. The masked expert said coldly. Then, his figure flashed and the figures of the assassins disappeared. 10 miles away, in a hidden mountain valley, Lu Ming coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood, his face pale. Naturally, he was not dead. This time, it's all thanks to Xiaoqing's scapegoat puppet. Lu Ming sighed. Just now, when he was about to be drowned by the sword light, he decisively used the scapegoat puppet that Xian Yanqing had given him. The scapegoat puppet was incomparably mysterious. In an instant his body was moved 10 miles away, and the enemy's attack was all absorbed by the puppet. Therefore, Lu Ming was not dead. The one who died was the scapegoat puppet. The scapegoat puppet had died for him once. At the critical moment, Lu Ming had left behind an interspatial ring. Even so, Lu Ming was swept by the aftershocks, and several more sword wounds appeared on his body. Waves of destructive power constantly drilled into the depths of his body. These people think I'm dead. It's not good for me to show myself now. I'll change my identity and heal here. I'll appear again when the Battle of 10 Earths begins. Lu Ming thought to himself. If he showed himself now, who knew if the enemy would send another assassination attempt? He didn't have a scapegoat puppet now. Lu Ming used the divine breath art to conceal his aura, then headed deeper into the ancient battlefield. He found a hidden place and entered the mountain river diagram to heal his injuries. His injuries were very serious. There were streaks of destructive sword light in his body that wanted to destroy his body. If he wanted to heal his injuries, he first had to dispel the sword light. Lu Ming controlled the 4 laws and began to dispel the sword light. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. Lu Ming finally dispelled the sword light. As soon as the sword light was dispelled, Lu Ming's body began to rapidly recover. His bones and muscles were regenerating and healing rapidly. At this moment, a piece of news spread that shook the entire Divine Fate land. Lu Ming, the son of Primal Chaos who came from Primal Mountain, had been killed by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. When this news came out, the world was in an uproar. Countless people were shocked. Lu Ming had displayed terrifying talent and battle strength as soon as he came to the Divine Fate land. With his cultivation at the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint Realm, he had defeated several sons of Primal Chaos consecutively. Even Mu Yang, who was known as a seed expert, was defeated by Lu Ming and trampled under Lu Ming's feet. Originally, countless people thought highly of Lu Ming. They thought that Lu Ming would be a peak expert in the Battle of 10 Earths, a seed expert. Countless people looked forward to the battle between Lu Ming and the son of Primal Chaos, Yuan Exin. But now, Lu Ming had been killed by the Nation of Death. This was because the news was released by the Nation of Death. The Nation of Death was very arrogant. They claimed to the outside world that so what if he was a peerless genius? So what if he hid in Destiny City? If the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone, it was useless no matter where he hid. Chapter 2097. The overlords of Destiny City had previously announced to the public that killing was prohibited in the city for the safety of the geniuses. But now, the Nation of Death had assassinated the Son of Chaos in Destiny City. This was a slap in the face to the overlords of Destiny City. The world was in an uproar. A powerful Son of Chaos had actually been assassinated by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. This was a major event that shocked countless people. Many people even suspected that this was true. But later on, someone stood out and said that it was true because they were at the ancient battlefield and saw with their own eyes that the Nation of Death had sent out a large number of experts to assassinate the Son of Chaos, Lu Ming. When the news was confirmed, many people found it difficult to calm down, especially some powerful geniuses. The Nation of Death was too terrifying. Since they could assassinate the Son of Chaos, they could also assassinate them. Many geniuses' activities became low-key. The overlords of Destiny City were furious and sent out a large number of experts to encircle and annihilate the Nation of Death. Unfortunately, they only managed to destroy a few insignificant branches and couldn't find the headquarters. The Nation of Death's people jumped out and clamored again. It didn't matter where the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone, their words were extremely arrogant. Left with no choice, the overlords of Destiny City could only strengthen the city's defenses. There were powerful existences guarding every corner of the city. The moment something went wrong, they would send out experts to prevent another assassination attempt from happening. But this matter had a huge impact and affected the hearts of countless people. In the Inn of Destiny City, Autumn Moon, Long Chen, and Huang Li were in disbelief when they heard the news. Impossible, the young master won't die. Autumn Moon's face was pale as tears welled up in her eyes. Don't worry, Lu Ming definitely won't die. Long Chen and Huang Li spoke one after another. They clenched their fists tightly and emitted cold, killing intent. In another ancient city to the south of Celestial City, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, and a few others were traveling. When they heard the news, their faces were also pale. No one can kill him. Several people whispered. Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. The moment Lu Xiang and Ouyang Mo Li stepped into the divine fate land, they were shocked by the news. My master won't die. Both of them found it hard to believe that Lu Ming would be killed. In their eyes, Lu Ming was irreplaceable. One day, he would be invincible. On a mountain peak, Death Blade stood against the wind, his aura wild. Lu Ming, you can't die yet. I still have to defeat you and replace you as the gold inheritor. A deep voice came from the Death Blade's mouth. Within an elegant courtyard in Destiny City, Xinghe stood tall with his hands behind his back. After a few years, the Eternal Star River had become even more terrifying. Its aura was unfathomable. Lu Ming, I wanted to kill you with my own hands. What a pity. Xinghe smiled faintly. On Yuan Mountain, the Hung Clan, He Clan, Daluo Heaven Sect, Ancient Moon Holy Land, Golden Crow Clan, Wan Clan, and other forces were overjoyed when they heard the news. Lu Ming's death was great news for them, especially for the Ancient Moon Holy Land, Wan Clan, Golden Crow Clan, and other forces. This was because in the Celestial Emperor City, Lu Ming had used the Celestial Emperor's body to kill a few experts. He had even beaten the great emperor of the He family until he fled. This made some forces in the Ancient Moon Holy Land who had a grudge against Lu Ming turn cold. They had been on tenterhooks, afraid that Lu Ming would use the Celestial Emperor's body to kill their sects and annihilate them. Now that Lu Ming was killed, they heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they guessed that Lu Ming's Heavenly Emperor's body was severely restricted. Otherwise, how could he be assassinated by the Death God Nation? If he could control the Heavenly Emperor's body, the people from the Death God Nation would only be courting death. Ah, oh boy, you dare to go against me. Only death awaits you. In Aeon City, Mu Clan, Mu Yang laughed heartily. His only regret was that he did not kill Lu Ming with his own hands. The divine fate land was in an uproar. Lu Ming had been in the depths of the ancient battlefield. After a few days, Lu Ming's injuries had healed. However, he did not go out and continued to cultivate in the ancient battlefield. He speculated that the assassins from the Death God Nation were probably hired by Mu Yang. As long as Mu Yang knew that he was dead, Mu Yang would not make any moves. Only then would Long Chen, Qiu Yu, and the others be safe. The depths of the ancient battlefield were very beneficial for cultivating the law of death. In the following days, Lu Ming focused on cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the law of death. Every day there would be great gains. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Lu Ming had made great progress in the law of death. His law of death had already reached 95% and was on par with the law of devour. Now, Lu Ming's 4 types of law fused together and erupted. The power was even more shocking. Lu Ming's strength had increased again. At this time, Lu Ming walked out of the ancient battlefield. Because the time for the Battle of 10 Earths had arrived. Lu Ming disguised himself as a dark-skinned youth. Walking on the streets, no one could recognize him. Lu Ming inquired about the news of the Battle of 10 Earths. As there were too many people participating in the Battle of 10 Earths, the Battle of 10 Earths had to be screened. Countless geniuses from all over the Yuan continent had come. The number was shocking. If they were to compete one by one, it would be unrealistic and too slow. Therefore, the Battle of 10 Earths was divided into 4 battle zones. East, South, West, and North, the 4 battle zones. Everyone could choose any battle zone to register. Then, they would be screened before they could participate in the final battle. The time would begin tomorrow. Lu Ming found a place to stay. A day passed in the blink of an eye. On the second day, Lu Ming headed towards the southern battle zone. It was an extremely spacious place, but when Lu Ming arrived, he found that the empty space was almost filled with people. Of course, many people were over the age limit and were here to watch the fun. There were naturally not that many young geniuses. In the center of the empty space, there was a huge platform. At this moment, there were a few figures floating above the platform, emitting shocking auras. Great Emperor! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He discovered that one of the people's aura was extremely deep and terrifying. Lu Ming had come into contact with great emperors more than once. Naturally, he could easily determine that this person was a great emperor. The 4 battle zones were controlled by the 4 overlord forces of Destiny City. This should be an expert from one of the overlord forces. The screening is divided into several rounds. The first round is very simple. You can register first and then step onto this platform. We will test you together. The Emperor Realm expert spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it rang in everyone's ears. Below the platform, there were a few registration places. Some youths went forward one after another and began to register. After registering, they stepped onto the platform. Chapter 2098. Alright, let's begin the test for this batch. The Great Emperor ordered. This Great Emperor looked to be in his 50s and had a majestic aura. Immediately, an old man stepped forward. In a moment, I'll unleash my pressure on you. Resist it with all your might. As long as you can withstand it for 30 breaths, those who can't withstand it will be eliminated. The old man said. Many people's hearts moved. This method was simple. A group of people would gather together and use their auras to suppress those who could withstand it. This way, the efficiency would be high. Those who weren't strong could be eliminated quickly. Begin. As the old man's voice sounded, a terrifying aura erupted from his body and enveloped the entire platform. True Emperor. Lu Ming could tell that this elder was a true Emperor-level expert. As soon as the old man's aura was released, some people's expressions changed. Their bodies trembled, and then they coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and knelt on the ground. Senior, please have mercy. I can't withstand it anymore. The youth roared, feeling as if his body was about to be crushed into meat paste. Get down. The old man said indifferently as he controlled his aura. The pressure on the youth instantly lightened, and he hurriedly rushed down the platform, gasping for breath. A mere bright saint dares to go up on the platform? He's overestimating himself. This is the Battle of 10 Earths, not some small place. A bright saint dares to go up? What a joke. Many people shook their heads and laughed. The Battle of 10 Earths gathered the strongest prodigies in the 10 Earths. A mere bright saint was not enough. The youth's face flushed red. In fact, there were many people like that young man. Plop, plop. On the platform, many youths knelt down and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. These youths' cultivation was around the bright saint realm. The Battle of 10 Earths was really affecting. It was the first time in history, and countless people paid attention to it. Many youths wanted to perform on such a stage, hoping to be noticed. Therefore, many of those who didn't have high cultivation wanted to participate. Many people coughed out blood and rushed down the platform, eliminated. As time passed, the old man's aura became stronger and stronger. Later on, even the great saints couldn't withstand it and were eliminated. In the end, only about 100 people out of the 1,000 managed to resist for 30 breaths of time. Of course, everyone's condition was different. Some people were trembling all over, cold sweat flowing down their backs, and they were gasping for breath. It was obvious that they had exhausted all their strength. Some people, on the other hand, were calm and collected. Their expressions were normal and relaxed. The names of those who had advanced to the next round were kept, and they could enter the next round. You've all seen it for yourself. If you're not strong enough, then don't sign up. You'll only embarrass yourself and get injured. The middle-aged great emperor said. Many youths had ugly expressions on their faces. In the end, they sighed helplessly. They originally wanted to show off, but in reality, they didn't even have the qualifications to participate. They didn't even have the qualifications to serve as a foil. The Battle of the Ten Lands was the stage for true geniuses. As long as one could get a spot in the Ten Lands battle, it would be a huge honor. However, most people could only watch. Following that, more and more people came forward to register. When there were about 1,000 people, the old man once again unleashed his aura and pressured the young man on the platform. This time, the situation was much better. Out of the 1,000 participants, about 500 of them made it to the next round. Because those who didn't have enough cultivation knew that they wouldn't be able to pass and would only get injured if they went up, they didn't sign up. Then, the selection continued. Xiang Xiang, Mo Li, Autumn Moon, Huangling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw Xiang Xiang, Autumn Moon, and the others in the crowd. They were all here, and they were all in the southern war zone. With their cultivation bases, they naturally passed the selection easily. I'll go up too. Lu Ming smiled and began to sign up. He wasn't in a hurry to meet Xiang Xiang and the others. What's your name? On the registration platform, someone looked at Lu Ming. Tianyun. Lu Ming said, leave your aura. The other party said. Lu Ming nodded and left a wisp of aura. This was to identify his identity. Then, Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. I have hair, I'm heartless. Lu Ming had just stepped onto the platform when he heard a Buddhist chant behind him. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched. Lu Ming was too familiar with this voice. Although he hadn't heard it for more than 10 years, he definitely wouldn't forget it. Lu Ming turned around and saw a slightly plump young monk stepping onto the platform. Heartless monk. Lu Ming was a little dazed. He didn't expect to meet Heartless monk here. Back then, when he was in the Divine Wilderness continent, Heartless and Moonless left before him and came to Yuan continent. It had been more than 10 years since they last met. Heartless monk was still the same as more than 10 years ago. He hadn't changed at all. When he walked up and saw Lu Ming looking at him, he couldn't help but chant a Buddhist chant. I have hair. Benefactor, you're looking at me with such affection. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to me? Unfortunately, you're a man. If you were a beautiful woman, I would consider it. Heartless monk said with a smile. Go to hell. Lu Ming curled his lips. This guy hadn't changed at all. Benefactor, why do I feel like we've met before? It's a familiar feeling. Oh no. Why would I have such feelings for a man? Heartless monk started to stare at Lu Ming. Then, his face turned bitter and he sighed. Get lost. Lu Ming scolded. At the same time, he was shocked. This unreliable monk's spiritual sense was really sharp. He had used his divine breath technique, but Heartless monk still felt it. Amit Ba. Then, another chant was heard and a few young monks stepped onto the platform. Moonless, Dustless. Lu Ming recognized a few of them. Moonless Bodhisattva was also a familiar face in the Divine Wilderness continent. The other one was Dustless of Boundless Temple. He controlled the law of karma and was one of the Elysian children. Soon, there were about 1,000 people on the platform. The true Emperor Realm Old Man started to release his aura. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on everyone. However, this pressure was nothing to Lu Ming. He didn't feel anything. Lu Ming saw that Heartless, Moonless, and Dustless were the same. Their faces were calm and they didn't react at all. It seems like Heartless and Moonless strength has increased tremendously after coming to the Yuan continent. Lu Ming thought to himself. To begin with, Lu Ming was unfamiliar with the cultivation of Buddhism. He discovered that he could not see through the cultivation level of the few young monks. It was as if there was a ball of dazzling golden light in their bodies that concealed their cultivation level. 30 breaths passed in the blink of an eye. They had passed the test easily. I have hair. Benefactor, have we met before? It seems like you have fate with Buddhism. Why don't you shave and join the Buddhist sect? Heartless came to Lu Ming and said with a smile. Go to hell. Chapter 2099. Next, the test continued. After a few more tests, no one signed up. In the end, about 3,000 people passed the first round. Come with me for the next round. The middle-aged great emperor said and stepped into the air. Those who passed the first round followed behind him. Those who were watching the show naturally followed as well. The crowd flew across the sky. Soon, The middle-aged martial monarch came to a stop in midair. There was a huge door of light in midair. This is the second round of the selection. Once you enter the door of light, you will enter a tunnel. There are various tests waiting for you in the tunnel. As long as you can pass through the tunnel within 30 minutes, you will pass the test. You may enter together. The middle-aged great emperor said. Whoosh, whoosh. In a flash, more than 3,000 people flew into the door of light. The door of light was huge. It did not seem crowded at all when more than 3,000 people flew in. The moment the 3,000 people flew into the door of light, they disappeared. Lu Ming felt his body tremble. He had arrived in a tunnel. There was no one else around. He was the only one. He knew that there must be a formation here. Great emperors had powerful means. It was not surprising that they had set up some mysterious formations. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Although the tunnel was a little difficult, it was not a problem for Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not go all out, but he passed through the entire passageway very quickly. Looking at the passageway that appeared in front of him, Lu Ming smiled faintly. About 5 minutes. He only used 5 minutes to pass through the tunnel. The test of this tunnel was very complicated. It not only tested one's combat strength, but also courage, decisiveness, wisdom, willpower, etc. It was very comprehensive. If one was outstanding in all these aspects, their talent would definitely not be bad. However, Lu Ming had experienced many similar trials and tribulations along the way. To him, these trials were not difficult at all. Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel. As soon as Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel, he saw many people looking at him. Lu Ming was stunned. He realized that there were many people standing in the air. Most of them were of the older generation. Some of them had terrifying auras. It can't be, there are so many great emperors. Lu Ming was shocked. He discovered that there were no less than 10 old men emitting the aura of great emperors. This made Lu Ming's heart tremble. I have hair. Benefactor, your speed is not fast. Ha! With a Buddhist chant, an unscrupulous monk appeared. His speed was even faster than Lu Ming's, which surprised Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. Lu Ming glanced around and saw that a few young men had already passed through the passage. It's him! Lu Ming saw a young man with a tall and straight figure. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding a domineering aura. The son of chaos, Yuan Exin. Lu Ming had seen it during the Hunyuan sect assessment, so how could he forget it? Yuan Exin cast a nonchalant glance at Lu Ming before shifting her gaze away. Little fellow, what law are you cultivating? At this time, an old man looked at Lu Ming with sparkling eyes. The law of death. Lu Ming nodded and the aura of the law of death emanated from his body. You are indeed the son of chaos? Little fellow, are you willing to be my disciple? The old man asked. I feel that we are fated to be his disciple. He should be my disciple. Another old man spoke. These people were all great emperors. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Could it be that these great emperors were waiting here to recruit disciples? Benefactor, these are all great emperors from God's destined land. Their purpose is to find talented young men to accept as disciples and pass on their mantle. Unscrupulous monk transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and understood. In Yuan continent, changing one's master was not a big deal under certain circumstances. For example, some peerless geniuses might have a master with a low cultivation when their cultivation was still weak. However, these geniuses would quickly rise and surpass their masters in a short period of time. For example, Lu Ming's current cultivation was much stronger than Cloud Dragon Valley masters. Therefore, those masters who had started their apprenticeship could no longer help those geniuses. Those geniuses could naturally find other stronger masters. Therefore, these great emperors were waiting here to try their luck. If they met a peerless genius who did not have a strong background and was willing to be their master, they would have profited. Senior, thank you for your kindness. I already have a master and will not be taking you as my disciple for the time being. Lu Ming cupped his fists and expressed his gratitude. What a pity! The few great emperors shook their heads and felt that it was a pity. He was the son of death and could pass through the passage in 5 minutes. It could be said that he was top-notch in all aspects. These great emperors were very tempted. However, it was obvious that only a few of these geniuses would be willing to take a master. Normally, they would have a strong background or an expert. The crowd continued to wait. Later on, a few more people appeared. Lu Ming saw a familiar face, the ancient devil. The land of infinite demons, the genius who cultivated the primordial demon Tao. This person was undoubtedly a terrifying opponent. A few years had passed. He did not know what level his cultivation had reached. Xiang Moli. At the 8th minute, Lu Ming saw Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli walking out at almost the same time. So young. Many people's eyes moved. As for those old men, their eyes lit up. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli looked too young. Ouyang Moli was slightly older, but he looked to be around 20 years old. As for Lu Xiang, she looked to be less than 20 years old. It was extremely rare to be able to walk out of the passage in 8 minutes at such a young age. Those old men's hearts moved again. These two brats are not bad. Passing through the passage in 8 minutes. Excellent talent. An old man stepped forward and said with a smile. Greetings, senior. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli bowed politely. What law did the two of you comprehend? Another old man stepped forward and asked with a smile. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli did not hide and release their auras. The children of last time, the children of last time. The old men's eyes lit up even more. Little girl, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? Little brat, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? The old men spoke one after another, staring at Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli. Their eyes were burning with passion. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli looked at each other and shook their heads. Senior, I already have a master. I won't acknowledge anyone else as my master. Lu Xiang shook her head and said, You already have a master? Who is your master? What's his cultivation level? I'm a great emperor. An old man was anxious and quickly spoke, revealing his cultivation level. My master's cultivation level is not as high as senior's, but in the future, he will definitely become a top expert. Lu Xiang said with a determined expression. Little girl, how can it be so easy to become a top expert? Don't be fooled. Chapter 2100. However, Lu Xiang continued to shake her head. The old man was getting anxious. Lu Xiang was so young, yet she already had such a high cultivation base. Moreover, she could pass through the passage in 8 minutes. Her talent was definitely very high. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. Little girl, who is your master? I'll go talk to him. The old man said. My master, Lu Ming. Lu Xiang's clear voice rang out, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. The son of chaos Yuan Xian's eyes flashed with 2 rays of bright light that resembled sword light. The ancient devil's eyes moved, and a layer of devilish light spread out from his body. Mu Yang's eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Lu Xiang with hostility. Lu Ming. Monk Wuliang muttered as if he was reminiscing. He then carefully sized up Xiang. Lu Ming? Which Lu Ming? The old man asked again. The son of chaos Lu Ming of Yuan Mountain. Lu Xiang added. So it's him, the son of chaos Lu Ming. I didn't expect to have a disciple like you at such a young age. Like master, like disciple. The old man sighed and continued, Your master's talent is indeed unparalleled. If he didn't die, it's normal for him to surpass this old man in the future. However, he has already fallen. No, I believe that my master is not dead. Lu Xiang shook her head. Her delicate little face was filled with determination. Little girl, why don't you reconsider? The old man was still unwilling. Many thanks to senior, but this junior will not change my master. Lu Xiang shook her head firmly. This little girl. Lu Ming smiled. Little guy, what about you? Do you have a master? At this time, another old man stared at Ouyang Moli. Yes, my master is Lu Ming. Ouyang Moli said. The scene suddenly quieted down. Yuan Xen, Mu Yang, and the others' eyes lit up. What? Lu Ming? It's Lu Ming again? Which Lu Ming? The Emperor Realm old men were all stunned. She's my senior sister. Ouyang Moli pointed at Lu Xiang. Everyone at the scene was stunned. He really was Lu Ming's disciple. 3 Elysian children from one sect. This left everyone speechless. How rare were the children of heaven? They were just too rare. Even in this golden age, they were extremely rare. There were only a few of them in one place. It was only because of the Battle of the 10 Lands that the geniuses of the entire Yuan continent gathered that they could occasionally see the Elysian children. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was a son of heaven himself. He took in 2 disciples, and they were also sons of heaven. This kind of situation, probably even heavenly emperor powerhouses would be envious. My master is definitely not dead. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli said in unison. Not dead? What a joke. You're just deceiving yourself. Mu Yang opened his mouth and sneered. What did you say? Lu Xiang glared at Mu Yang. I'm just telling the truth. You're arrogant just because you have a bit of cultivation. You don't even know how you died. Mu Yang sneered. If I'm here, who do you think you are? You'll definitely be tortured by my master. Ouyang Moli said coldly. What did you say? You're courting death. Instantly, Mu Yang was enraged. His face flushed red with anger. He thought that Ouyang Moli was deliberately mocking him. Previously, he was indeed tortured by Lu Ming and trampled on by Lu Ming. He was utterly humiliated. But in fact, Ouyang Moli did not know Mu Yang at all. He did not know that Mu Yang had already been tortured by Lu Ming. Am I right? You were really tortured by my master before? Ouyang Moli saw something and continued to mock him. You're courting death. Mu Yang was furious. His body emitted cold killing intent as he walked towards Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli. What are you doing? Is this the place for the battle? An old man glanced at Mu Yang coldly, causing Mu Yang to shiver. He broke out in cold sweat like a deflated balloon. In the end, the old men sighed. They knew that it was a pity that Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli would not be apprenticed. After that, more and more people passed through the passage. Half an hour later, around 1,000 people passed. Those who did not pass were all eliminated. Out of the 3,000 people, only 1,000 people were left. All right, there's still the 3rd round of the selection. Follow me. The middle-aged great emperor came and announced the results. The crowd followed him, including the great emperors. The crowd flew towards another mountain peak. The peak of this mountain peak was extremely wide. It looked as if someone had sliced off the peak with a sword, making it look very smooth. In the middle of the mountain peak, there was a huge battle stage. It was emitting purple gold light. That was the power of the array. The middle-aged great emperor landed on the battle stage and said, "This round of selection is the last one. There will only be 80 spots left in this round." 80 spots. The crowd was shocked. Out of 1,000 people, only 80 would be left. The probability of elimination was too high. Furthermore, this was only the selection. The final battle had not yet begun. The 4 battle zones have the same rules. Each battle zone will select 80 people. There will be a total of 320 people who will participate in the real battle. It's a peak battle. However, let me tell you something. After this round of selection, you will be able to obtain an opportunity. A great opportunity. Many of you might be able to use it to reach the martial emperor realm. The middle-aged great emperor announced. What? Many people were shocked. After this round of selection, they would be able to obtain an opportunity that could even allow them to reach the martial emperor realm. One should know that it was extremely difficult to reach the martial emperor realm from the boundary emperor realm. Since ancient times, countless geniuses had been stuck at this step. Some were stuck for a few years. Some were stuck for a few decades. Some were stuck for a few thousand years. Many people could not break through in their lifetime. This was a hurdle, a huge hurdle. Once one reached the martial emperor realm, it meant that one's lifespan was endless. As long as one could survive the heavenly tribulation that occurred once every 300,000 years, one would be able to live forever. The goal of countless people was to reach the martial emperor realm. Now, There was an opportunity that could allow one to break through to the martial emperor realm. Everyone's heart burned with passion. Before the Battle of the 10 Earths, some great emperor had said that this battle would be accompanied by a great opportunity. It seemed that it was true. I must enter the top 80. I must obtain this opportunity. Many people clenched their fists and swore to themselves that they must enter the top 80. Those who had already been eliminated sighed. The eyes of the heavenly children were especially bright. The rules of this round are very simple. Everyone will step onto the battle stage and fight. The 80 people remaining on the battle stage will be the 80 people who will advance. Of course, there is a condition. You can team up, but the number of people can't exceed 3. More than 3 people will be considered breaking the rules. Chapter 2101. Many people's hearts trembled. This rule could be said to be very simple and very crude, but it was also very effective. More than 1,000 people went up the stage to fight. Only 80 people would be left on the stage. One could imagine how intense the battle would be and how the situation would change. Being strong didn't mean that one would be able to stay until the end. One needed luck. Of course, when one was strong enough, one didn't need luck to defeat the others and stay until the end. Moreover, there was a condition. The number of people working together couldn't exceed 3. This was also a form of protection and a restriction. What he was afraid of was that there would be many experts joining forces. If more than 10 top experts joined forces and swept away the others, how could he play? If only 3 people worked together, the restriction would be great. Furthermore, teams are not allowed to work together against the enemy. The middle-aged great emperor added. Some people thought that the hope of several teams working together was dashed. Alright, these are the rules. Let's begin. The middle-aged great emperor announced. Swoosh, swoosh. More than 1,000 young supreme talents flew up the stage. However, after flying up the stage, they separated from each other and stared at each other cautiously. The stage was huge. It was 100 miles long and wide. With more than 1,000 people on the stage, it seemed very spacious. Countless people watched nervously from all directions. Let's work together. How about you and I work together? On the stage, there wasn't a huge battle immediately. Instead, they communicated with each other and planned to work together. Swoosh, swoosh. Their figures flashed, and many people began to join forces. 3 people in a group. More and more groups appeared on the stage. Lu Ming saw Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, Autumn Moon, and Huang Ling teaming up. Bubbles, Huang Ling, and Luo Tianyi were in a group, with Bubbles as the core. Then, Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and Autumn Moon were in a group. Long Chen, Huang Li, and Luo Xiang were in a group. Ouyang Wushuang and the 2 powerful king bodies who joined the Dragon Alliance at Yuan Mountain were in a group. On the other side, Lu Ming saw Wu Yang, Wu Yu, and Wu Chen in a group. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to form a group of 3. Some of them had 2 people, while others only had 1 person. For example, Death Blade, Mu Yang, Yuan Xan, and the Ancient Demon were all in a group. They looked around coldly. Get down. Suddenly, a loud roar rang out. Someone had begun to attack. You'll be the ones to go down. Boom, boom. An intense collision sounded. Someone was fighting a great battle. Pull a strand of hair, and the whole body moves. When one person moves, the whole body moves. The fighting ring immediately fell into a chaotic battle. As long as he could knock his opponent off the stage, he would have more confidence in staying on the stage. The 3 of them weren't weak. The leader had a king-type body and had reached the peak of the absolute saint realm. As for the other 2, although they didn't have king bodies, their spiritual bodies were superior sky spiritual bodies, and their cultivations had reached the absolute saint realm. The 3 of them launched a torrential attack on Lu Ming at the same time, wanting to blast him down in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, they were too slow when they passed through the passage. They didn't see Lu Ming use the law of death, so they didn't know that Lu Ming was an Elysian child. During this period of time, many people had inquired about some of the famous Elysian children, including their appearances. However, they had never seen Lu Ming before. You'll be the ones to get down. Lu Ming glanced at the three people coldly. Death Qi filled his eyes. The three people's attacks collapsed under the Death Qi. Oh no, it's the law of death. He's a death child. The three people shouted in horror. They wanted to retreat. But Lu Ming used the eyes of death. The Death Qi became thicker and enveloped the three people. The three people screamed in agony. It was as if their lives were being taken away. Spare us! We admit defeat! We admit defeat! The three people yelled. Lu Ming's heart moved, and the Death Qi disappeared. The three people hurriedly rushed down the battle stage. They were afraid that Lu Ming would kill them. The 100-mile-long battle stage looked huge when there wasn't a battle. However, it felt very small when there was a chaotic battle. With their current strength, they could move more than 100 miles in an instant. Lu Xiang and the others were in a group of 3. They performed very well and were very strong. In the past 3 years, Emperor Notionless and the others had brought them to the corresponding secret places to cultivate. Their progress could be described as fast. Bubble's cultivation had already reached the boundary Emperor realm. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Huang Li, and the others were all boundary emperors. Only Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli were slightly weaker. However, they were also peak saints. Moreover, their law of death had reached 99%. They were only one step away from the boundary emperor realm. However, they were Elysian children. Their battle strength was shocking. They were stronger than boundary emperors with king bodies. Wherever they passed, the experts were knocked off the battle stage. Not many people were able to fight them. Lu Ming's disciples, Scram. Mu Yang targeted Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and Autumn Moon. His figure flashed as he charged toward the 3. Be careful! Chiu Yu warned. Her body was exchanging heat and cold. One side was blazing hot while the other side was cold. They interweaved, producing a terrifying destructive force that blasted towards Mu Yang. At the same time, the light of law covered her body. The law of yin and yang flowed like a river. Green with sky raising. Lu Xiang waved her small hand, and an ancient green tree appeared. It covered the sky and was incomparably huge, and it pressed down on Mu Yang. At the same time, Ouyang Moli slashed out with the reincarnation halberd. 6 reincarnation vortexes followed the reincarnation halberd and slashed toward Mu Yang. You want to stop me with just the 3 of you? That Mu Yang shouted. With a wave of his hand, the law of nothingness vibrated. Rays of nothingness light shot toward the 3. Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions sounded. Autumn Moon, Lu Xiang, and Ouyang Moli's attacks all collapsed. Under the law of nothingness, they turned into nothingness. It had to be said that Mu Yang's strength was very shocking. He had already started to form a small world and stood at the peak of the boundary emperor realm. Autumn Moon had a king body. Although she was also at the peak of the boundary emperor realm, it was difficult for her to fight against Mu Yang. As for Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli, their cultivations had yet to break through to the boundary emperor realm. Even if they worked together, they were not Mu Yang's match. Your master is dead. I'll send you to accompany him. Mu Yang sneered and charged toward Lu Xiang and the other 2. The 3 tried their best to block, but they were still at a disadvantage and were in imminent danger. Not far away, Bubble and the others wanted to help, but there were rules. They were in groups of 3 and the others could not interfere. They could only watch anxiously. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Chapter 2102. Sush. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed forward. He did not attack Mu Yang because if he did, it would mean that he and Xiang's group had broken the rules. He directly charged towards the people behind Mu Yang. There were other prodigies of the Mu family there. Kill! Lu Ming charged towards a group of 3. They were all prodigies of the Mu family, and 2 of them had king bodies. The Mu family was powerful. Not only did they have Mu Yang, a son of heaven, but they also had 2 king bodies. They were extremely powerful. Before Lu Ming arrived, the terrifying light of death had already enveloped the 3 Mu family experts. The 3 Mu family prodigies were shocked and tried their best to resist. But Lu Ming instantly knew, and the light of death once again burst out from his eyes. This was the Eyes of Death, a terrifying divine ability with astonishing killing power. Clang, clang. Lu Ming's eyes emitted beams of light. They were like combat weapons, emitting sonorous sounds as they charged toward the other party. There was a miserable scream. Among the 3 Mu family prodigies, one of them did not have a king body and his cultivation was slightly weaker. He was directly killed, and his body was cut into several pieces. Even the 2 king bodies were seriously injured. If not for their extremely strong cultivation at the Boundary Emperor realm and the laws surrounding their bodies like a river, they would have been killed. Even so, there were a few more wounds on their bodies and blood flowed out. The light of death attached to the wounds, wanting to deprive them of their vitality. Then, Lu Ming slammed down with his palm, and the 2 Mu family prodigies vomited large mouthfuls of blood and retreated. Mu Yang, save us. A Mu family prodigy with a king body roared, revealing a terrified expression. Brat, you're courting death. Mu Yang let out a long howl. He abandoned Lu Xiangxiang and the rest and charged toward Lu Ming. I've been waiting for you. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up as a cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. In his hand, the law of death turned into a sword light and slashed out. This sword light not only contained the law of death, but also the law of devouring and the law of array Dao. Its power skyrocketed, and the 2 Mu clan king bodies could not block it at all. With 2 screams, 2 heads flew high into the air, and blood sprayed 10 meters high. How dare you! You're courting death. Outside of the battle platform, there were also cultivators from the Mu clan watching the battle. At this moment, they were roaring like mad lions, filled with killing intent. 2 of the Mu clan's king physiques had died. To the Mu clan, this was an earth-shattering event. The price was too great. Their hearts were bleeding. Generally speaking, those with king bodies had the potential to become great emperors. Such geniuses were simply too precious. But now, all of them had been slain at the same time. However, although the Mu clan was furious, they didn't dare to attack in this kind of situation. They could only watch helplessly, hoping that Mu Yang would kill Lu Ming and avenge the Mu clan's king body. After Lu Ming killed the 2 Mu clan's king body cultivators, his figure flashed, and like a flash of lightning he rushed towards Mu Yang. Now that Mu Yang had abandoned Xiang Xiang and the others, he could naturally attack. Die, brat! Mu Yang roared, using the law of nothingness, and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming also attacked with his palm. Boom! Their attacks collided, but the result was that Mu Yang's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat. On the battle platform, the spectators were shocked. Especially the Mu clan's cultivators. How could Mu Yang be defeated? Mu Yang was known as one of the seeded cultivators this time. He was extremely powerful and had already begun to develop a small world. When he lost to Lu Ming, it was because Lu Ming was too abnormal. But now, the Son of Death had appeared out of nowhere and was able to suppress Mu Yang. There are too many experts in the world. There are many hidden geniuses that we don't even know about. Yeah, the seeded cultivators from before are not the strongest. No one knows how many stronger geniuses there are in the dark. What is this Son of Death called? His strength is astonishing. I think his name is Tianyun. He used that name to register. Some people were discussing. On the battle platform, Mu Yang roared. He was actually forced to retreat, which made him furious. The aura on his body became even more berserk as he attacked Lu Ming fiercely. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming faced the enemy directly, exchanging blows with Mu Yang. After a dozen moves, Lu Ming had completely suppressed Mu Yang. Mu Yang's body kept retreating, and the law of nothingness on his body seemed to be penetrated by Lu Ming. Bang! In the end, Lu Ming's palm broke through Mu Yang's defense and landed on his body. Mu Yang cried out miserably as his body flew out, and he vomited blood. Mu Yang, is that all you have? How can you be called a seeded cultivator? What a joke! Lu Ming sneered as he strode towards Mu Yang. I will kill you! Mu Yang's eyes were red. The saint force on his body boiled, and the law of nothingness poured into his body from the void, emitting a brilliant radiance. Sea of Nothingness. Mu Yang used his strongest move, forming the Sea of Nothingness and enveloping Lu Ming. Die for me. Mu Yang seemed to have gone mad as he crazily controlled the Sea of Nothingness. The Sea of Nothingness let out rumbling sounds as it evolved into various terrifying attacks that wanted to turn everything in the Sea of Nothingness into nothingness. Nearby, there were a few people who did not manage to dodge and were directly sucked in by the Sea of Nothingness. They let out mournful screams as they turned into nothingness. Dong, dong. But within the Sea of Nothingness, a terrifying rumbling sound rang out, like the sound of a drum. The Sea of Nothingness began to churn violently. Mu Yang's expression changed as he tried his best to control the Sea of Nothingness. But it was useless as the Sea of Nothingness's trembling became more and more intense. Finally, with a boom, it exploded, and a figure stepped out from within. It was Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming roared, his killing intent surging as he charged towards Mu Yang. He was determined to kill Mu Yang. Mu Yang's expression was ugly as he quickly retreated, not daring to fight with Lu Ming. Scram, scram. Mu Yang fled frantically, and anyone who blocked his path was either killed by him or sent flying off the stage. But he still could not escape. Soon, Lu Ming caught up to him. He could only do his best to fight, but after a few moves, Lu Ming's attack landed on his body. Mu Yang was sent flying, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood as his body nearly exploded. How can this be? Tianyun's law is clearly not complete and has not reached Quasi-Emperor yet. How can he be so strong? Even Mu Yang can't block him? Someone was stunned. On the surface, Mu Yang's cultivation was indeed stronger. They were both sons of heaven, so how could there be such a huge difference in their battle strength? That little guy doesn't just control the law of death. He also controls other laws. This is the fusion of laws. An emperor spoke, his voice filled with shock. Although Lu Ming could fuse several laws together and hide them well, ordinary people would not be able to see through them. But what kind of people were emperors? Naturally, he could not hide it from them. As long as they paid attention, they would be able to see through it. What? He fused several laws together? This is too monstrous. He can actually control several laws under martial emperor. Chapter 2103. For someone below the martial emperor realm to be able to control several types of laws and merge them together, it was beyond imagination. Not only the ordinary people, but even the great emperor realm old men were shocked. Of course, Lu Ming did not cast the law of chaos. If he did not cast it, of course, they would not be able to tell. If they saw that Lu Ming had mastered two types of ultimate laws, he wondered what kind of expression they would have. Also, this little guy has used a disguise technique. Very clever. A great emperor whispered. It was naturally impossible for Lu Ming's divine breathing technique to deceive a great emperor. However, these great emperors had never seen him before. Although they could see that he had used a disguise technique, they did not know Lu Ming's real identity. Lu Ming sent Mu Yang flying and continued to attack him. At that moment, Mu Yang no longer had any intention to continue fighting. He only wanted to escape. However, he was not willing to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat. Because if he could pass this selection, he would obtain a great opportunity and be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. I must hold on. As long as I pass this selection, I will be able to enter the martial emperor realm. At that time, I will skin this little guy alive. Mu Yang roared in his heart. However, at the next moment, he was scared out of his wits. This was because Lu Ming had attacked again. He had broken through Mu Yang's defense with one move and bombarded his back. Blood splattered everywhere. There was a huge hole in Mu Yang's body. Of course, such an injury could only severely injure Mu Yang and could not kill him. Mu Yang fell to the ground like a dead dog. His eyes were filled with fear. Now, even if he wanted to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat, he could not do so. Stop, little guy. Mu Yang is our Mu clan's peerless genius. If you dare to kill him, you will be buried with him. Outside the fighting stage, an expert from the Mu clan shouted at the top of his lungs. Mu Yang was the son of the heavens and had unparalleled talent. He could not die. The Mu clan's expert could not wait to attack the fighting stage and kill Lu Ming. Shut up. Are you going to interfere with the Battle of the Ten Lands? The middle-aged great emperor coldly glanced at the experts of the Mu clan, causing their faces to turn ugly, and they obediently shut their mouths. The middle-aged emperor was from one of the overlords of Destiny City. Moreover, the Battle of the Ten Earths was organized by the great emperors of the various regions. No one had the right to interfere. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he walked towards Mu Yang. Enough! At this moment, a cold and aloof voice could be heard from behind Lu Ming. An indifferent and arrogant voice could be heard. An extremely powerful pressure was exerted on Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt as if there was a wild beast staring at him from behind, ready to unleash a fatal blow at any time. Lu Ming slowly turned around and saw a young man walking toward him step by step with his hands behind his back. Yuan Exine, the son of chaos, Yuan Exine. Yuan Exine had a slender figure and a handsome appearance. With his hands behind his back, he had an invincible aura. This was indeed the case. He walked on the battle platform as if he was taking a stroll. No one dared to make a move against him. That was because Yuan Exine was known as one of the strongest in the younger generation of the Yuanlu. He was extremely terrifying. Yuan Exine, help me kill him. Help me kill this brat. Mu Yang shouted excitedly when he saw Yuan Exine. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Yuan Exine didn't say anything. He continued walking slowly towards Lu Ming. His pace wasn't fast, but with every step, his aura grew stronger. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. He could sense a sense of danger from Yuan Exine. Yuan Exine is about to make a move. Many people's eyes lit up around the battle platform. Even many of the older generation's figures were interested. The son of chaos, Yuan Exine, was famous for his fighting prowess. He was extremely powerful, and the other sons of heaven had to bow their heads before him. He was on par with the Destiny's Child and was known as one of the strongest. Mu Yang and Yuan Exine are good friends. It's normal for Yuan Exine to make a move when Mu Yang is injured. Then Tianyun is in trouble. He has no chance against Yuan Exine. I hope he can last until the end of the selection. Otherwise, it would be a pity if such a genius didn't pass the selection. Many people thought that Lu Ming would most likely not be Yuan Exine's match and would be defeated. Son of Chaos, I want to see your true strength. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. A sharp light flashed in his eyes and his battle intent filled the air. Although he had fought with Yuan Exine during the Primal Chaos Sex assessment, there were many restrictions at that time. Their cultivations were suppressed to the same level. Even their divine skills and bloodlines were suppressed. They couldn't use their true strength. Since you want to see, I'll let you see, Yuan Exine said coldly. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming, throwing out a punch. This punch was as powerful as an ancient divine mountain. It whistled through the air and directly pierced through it. This punch was extremely terrifying. An ordinary one-star martial emperor would find it difficult to block it. Boom! Lu Ming took a step forward and his body swayed like a huge dragon. His powerful physical strength erupted completely. His saint force surged and blasted out along his arm. It was also a punch. Lu Ming also used the law of death, the law of devouring, and the law of array for this punch. The two fists heavily collided. The entire fighting platform rumbled violently. The void trembled as a terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Some youths nearby were hit by the energy. They vomited blood and were sent flying off the fighting platform. The expressions of some of the stronger geniuses changed drastically. Their figures flashed as they dodged the attack. Both of their bodies trembled and swayed. The first move didn't determine the victor. You have some strength. Let's see how many moves you can take. Yuan Exine's expression didn't change when he didn't push Lu Ming back. The law of primal chaos spread out from his body, making his aura even more oppressive. Boom! Boom! Yuan Exine's fists continued to bombard Lu Ming. Streams of fist force smashed toward Lu Ming like meteorites. Eyes of death. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with radiance. Rays of light shot out like weapons and slashed at Yuan Xian's fist energy. These rays of light didn't only contain the law of death but also other laws. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. It was difficult to determine the victor. Yuan Xian is indeed strong. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Now, he had merged 3 types of precepts. Although his mastery of the Edict of Death and the Edict of Devouring had yet to reach the limit, when the 3 types of precepts burst out, in addition to his spiritual body and saint energy, his combat strength was extremely shocking. Yet, it was still difficult to do anything to Yuan Xian. He realized that Yuan Xian's physical body was also shockingly strong. It wasn't much weaker than his. However, Lu Ming still had the law of primal chaos. The law of primal chaos was already at 99% completion. Once he used the law of primal chaos and merged it with the law of death, the combination of the 2 strongest laws would skyrocket. However, now was not the time to expose it. In the blink of an eye, after a few more moves, the 2 of them had exchanged blows and both of them took a few steps back. Your combat strength is indeed strong. Unfortunately, your cultivation is too weak. You are no match for me. Up until now, Yuan Xian's eyes finally revealed a glimmer of light. Boom! Chapter 2104. Yuan Xian's aura suddenly skyrocketed, turning into a terrifying howl that swept across the sky. Emperor's aura. Martial Emperor realm. Yuan Xian's cultivation had broken through to the Martial Emperor realm. The spectators around the fighting platform were shocked. They had heard that Yuan Xian had gone into seclusion to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. They had not expected him to succeed and become an emperor. Once he had confirmed his Tao and become an emperor, he would be on a completely different level. Every aspect of him would undergo a metamorphosis and be greatly improved. The Sacred Heart began to evolve into a small world with an endless lifespan. As long as he could survive the tribulation of heaven and earth, he would have the same lifespan as heaven and earth. This was an extreme metamorphosis. A boundary emperor was still a martial sage or a martial sage. After confirming one's Tao and becoming an emperor, one would be a martial emperor. Yuan Xian has confirmed his Tao and become an emperor. This is too shocking. His combat strength was already invincible. Now that he has confirmed his Tao and become an emperor, who can be his match? He is going to sweep through everyone. He might not be. I heard that Destiny's Child has already become an emperor. There might be other geniuses who have also become emperors. Some people discussed, but they were still shocked. Becoming an emperor at such a young age was unimaginable in the past. Vast Emperor's aura spread out from Yuan Xian's body, shocking everyone. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Looks like I have to expose my identity. Lu Ming thought. Yuan Xian had already become an emperor and his combat strength would skyrocket. He had to do his best to fight him. In this way, he would expose his identity. He did not want to expose himself now. After all, many people wanted to kill him. If he exposed himself now, he might implicate Lu Xiang and the others. Although the Battle of 10 Earths had already begun and they would naturally be protected by various experts, it was better to be safe than sorry. Lu Ming did not have the ability to protect himself against high-level illusionary emperors, let alone true emperors and great emperors. If the Heavenly Emperor's physical body had sufficient energy, Lu Ming would not have so many scruples. Now was not the time yet. However, facing Yuan Xian, who had become an emperor, he had no other choice but to fight with all his might. Yuan Xian, you have become an emperor. That's great. Kill that kid. Mu Yang laughed excitedly. At the same time, he used all his strength to heal himself. The injuries on his body healed quickly. He then turned his gaze to Lu Xiang and the others. As long as his injuries were healed, he would make Lu Xiang and the others pay the price. Bang! At this moment, Yuan Xian took a step forward, causing the entire battle stage to tremble. A terrifying aura, like 10,000 layers of waves, rushed towards Lu Ming. Break! Lu Ming struck out with a palm, breaking apart Yuan Xian's aura. Stubborn resistance. Yuan Exine coldly spoke. His figure was tall and straight, and right now he was exuding boundless emperor might. He was even more dignified, as if he was an ancient emperor who was walking in the world of mortals. My hair! At this moment, a Buddhist chant rang out. A monk walked over with a smile on his face. With every step he took, a golden lotus would appear beneath his feet. An incomparably powerful aura also emanated from his body, pressing down on Yuan Exine. This monk was naturally heartless. However, to Lu Ming's astonishment, Wu Liang's aura was clearly that of a martial monarch. Monk Wu Liang had already achieved the martial monarch realm. Even with Lu Ming's wisdom, he could not help but be stunned. This unreliable monk had already achieved the martial monarch realm. An uproar took place around the battle stage. Many people were astounded. Another martial monarch at such a young age had appeared. It was truly astonishing. Yuan Exine's eyes flickered with a stern look as he glanced at Wu Liang and said, "You want to fight me? If you let him go, I won't fight you." Wu Liang pointed at Lu Ming. At this instant, Wu Liang's figure was emitting a golden glow. A Bodhi glow appeared behind his head as he placed his palms together in a dignified manner, like a virtuous monk. "Do you know him?" Yuan Exine asked. "I don't know him, but he helped those two kids just then." Wu Liang pointed at Xiang Xiang and Ouyang Moli and said, "Their master is Lu Ming. To be honest, Lu Ming and I came from the same place. He's my underling. Do you understand now?" Monk Wu Liang said in a serious tone. Lu Ming's face darkened when he heard the last part. Since when had he become Wu Liang's underling? Long Chen was left speechless. He and Monk Wu Liang were old acquaintances. Although Wu Liang's cultivation had shocked him, his ability to boast left him speechless. "Let's fight then." Yuan Exine was straightforward as he stepped forward toward Monk Wu Liang. Bang! His aura burst out and shook the heavens and earth. He threw a punch forward, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. "My hair!" Monk Wu Liang uttered a chant as his figure emitted a golden glow. 100-meter-tall golden Buddha appeared behind him. It reached out a golden palm and threw a punch at Yuan Exine. Bang! There was an earth-shattering explosion as terrifying energy swept out. Everyone nearby was sent flying. Even Lu Ming took 2 steps back. The law of cause and effect. Wu Liang has also mastered the law of cause and effect. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Monk Wu Liang must have had a fortuitous encounter after coming to Yuan continent. Or perhaps, he was talented and had not been fully discovered in the divine wilderness continent. Chaotic divine fist. Yuan Exine roared as his aura became stronger. He was like an invincible god of war as he charged toward Monk Wu Liang. Golden Buddha body. Monk Wu Liang put his palms together and murmured. Behind him, the gigantic Buddha golden body turned into a beam of golden light and flew into his body. His body shone brightly with golden light. Even his skin had turned golden, making him look like a golden man. He used the great Buddha palm print and attacked Yuan Exine. Bang! Bang! The two of them clashed continuously and fought fiercely on the fighting stage. Sometimes they were in the east, sometimes they were in the west. Many people were hit by the shockwaves of their battle and were either severely injured or thrown off the fighting stage. Suddenly, a large number of people were thrown off the fighting stage. Some powerful sky prides, such as Yu He and the ancient demon, also used their movement techniques to dodge. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had his eyes on Mu Yang. It was good that Wu Liang had attacked. At least he did not have to expose himself for the time being. Mu Yang's face was ghastly pale. He originally thought that Yuan Exine could kill Lu Ming. He did not expect Wu Liang to appear out of nowhere. Wu Liang's combat strength was so strong that he could compete with Yuan Exine. Now Lu Ming had his eyes on him. This made him extremely depressed and he could only run away. "Where are you running to? Why don't you get off the fighting stage yourself?" Lu Ming chased after Mu Yang and sneered. Mu Yang gritted his teeth. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He had been flashing around the edge of the fighting stage. If there was no other way, he would really jump off the fighting stage. After all, compared to opportunities, his life was more important. "All right, the battle is over. Everyone stop." At this moment, the middle-aged great emperor arrived above the fighting stage. His powerful aura spread out and made everyone stop. Chapter 2105. It's over. Lu Ming looked around and realized that there were not many people left on the fighting stage. Including him, there were exactly 80 people left. Lu Ming was speechless. He had let Mu Yang escape because of his carelessness. It's over. It's over. Mu Yang was overjoyed. He had finally made it to the end and became the last 80 people to obtain an opportunity. When I break through to the martial emperor realm, I will cut you into 8 pieces. Mu Yang stared at Lu Ming and roared in his heart. You're lucky. Lu Ming curled his lips and looked at the remaining people. Bubbles, Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, Qiu Autumn Moon, Huang Ling, Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, Luo Xiang and Luo Tianyi had all successfully stayed on the fighting stage. Other than Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli, the others had all reached the boundary emperor realm. Moreover, they were in groups of 3. Unless they were targeted by the heavenly children, it would not be difficult for them to last until the end. All right, the 80 of you have passed the selection. Now, I will let you rest for a while. After that, follow me. There is a great opportunity waiting for you. The middle-aged great emperor announced. The 80 people on the fighting stage were naturally overjoyed. However, those who had been eliminated sighed and were unwilling to accept it. On the fighting stage, some of the injured people sat down cross-legged and began to heal their injuries. Big brother, thank you for your help. Xiang, Ouyang Moli and the others walked over and cupped their fists at Lu Ming to express their gratitude. You're welcome. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Of course, his voice had also changed. Qiu Moon looked at Lu Ming curiously. She felt that Lu Ming looked familiar. This was her intuition. Soon after, Long Chen, Huang Ling, Huang Li and the others also walked over and expressed their gratitude to Lu Ming. Lu Ming originally wanted to introduce himself to them. However, after thinking about it, he held back. It would not be too late to do so later. And me Fe, Long Chen, long time no see. Monk Wuliang walked over with a smile. Wuchen and Wuyue were with him. Wuchen's cultivation was at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm. He controlled the laws and was extremely powerful. He was a top-notch genius. Moonless was slightly weaker. Although he also had the cultivation of a quasi-emperor, he only had a king body. Wuliang, it's been so many years. I didn't expect you to have become a martial monarch. Long Chen also greeted Wuliang. Let me tell you, I'm the reincarnation of a Buddha god, a man destined to fight at the peak. Back in the divine wilderness continent, I wasn't your match because I didn't discover my potential. Now, whether it's you or Lu Ming, none of you are my match. Monk Wuliang laughed out loud and was extremely pleased with himself. Humph, if my master was here, you would definitely not be his match. Xiang was displeased when she heard the unscrupulous person belittling Lu Ming. At the mention of Lu Ming, everyone fell silent. How is he now? Don't worry, Lu Ming is an old fox. He's very shrewd and won't die so easily. Other than me who can barely suppress him, no one is his match. Monk Wuliang said. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched. Was this guy praising him or belittling him? Why did it sound so uncomfortable? Xiang and Ouyang Moli glared at Wuliang. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't defeat him, they would have beaten him up. At this moment, Bubbles' figure suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Lu Ming. Her big eyes blinked as she looked at Lu Ming curiously. After not seeing her for a few years, Bubbles still looked like a 2 or 3-year-old, as if she would never grow up. However, her cultivation had progressed rapidly and she was about to break through to the martial monarch realm. Your brother Lu Ming. Bubbles suddenly spoke. Of course, Bubble was transmitting her voice and no one else heard it. Lu Ming touched his nose. As expected, he couldn't hide it from Bubble. The top 10 battle beasts were no small matter. Bubble, it's me. Don't tell anyone for the time being. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubble. I knew you weren't dead. Bubble transmitted her voice and her big eyes were filled with joy. Then she ran to Xiang's shoulder and sat down. Let's rest for a while. Luo Tianyi said. Everyone was exhausted from the battle just now. Everyone sat down cross-legged and started to rest. Not far away, Mu Yang glanced at Lu Xiang and the others from time to time, revealing a sinister look. He was thinking of a vicious plan. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. He was afraid that if his identity was exposed, Mu Yang would do something that would endanger Lu Xiang and the others. He seriously suspected that the assassins from the Nation of Death were hired by Mu Yang. Soon, a day passed and everyone was almost done resting. "Come with me," the middle-aged martial monarch ordered and led everyone to the center of Destiny City. The others also followed. They were very curious as to what the so-called opportunity was. Soon, a majestic mountain appeared in front of them. This mountain was so majestic and tall that it pierced the sky. This was Destiny Mountain, known as the most majestic mountain in Destiny City. Legend had it that it was connected to the sky and could lead to the heavenly world. Everyone landed on the Mountain of Destiny. They realized that there were already many people on Destiny Mountain. "Is the Southern War Zone done as well?" A beautiful middle-aged woman looked in his direction. "You're from the Eastern War Zone, but you're fast." The middle-aged martial monarch smiled and greeted her. Obviously, the other party was from the Eastern War Zone. They had also selected 80 top geniuses. The geniuses from both sides sized each other up. Eternal Star River. Lu Ming saw Eternal Star River among the 80 geniuses from the Eastern War Zone. No wonder he hadn't seen him before. He had gone to the Eastern War Zone. "Alright, you guys can rest here. When the time comes, the opportunity will naturally appear," the middle-aged martial monarch said. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They were all guessing what the so-called opportunity was. It could actually help people become martial monarchs. Everyone was excited. Everyone waited here. One day later, the geniuses from the Northern War Zone arrived. 2 days later, the geniuses from the Western War Zone arrived. More and more people gathered near the Mountain of Destiny, filling up the sky. At the highest point, there were many figures covered in divine light. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but each of them gave off a boundless and unfathomable feeling. Martial monarchs. Everyone's heart trembled. They knew that these people who stood high up and were shrouded in divine light were all great emperors. They might not necessarily be martial monarchs from the divine fate land. There might be martial monarchs from other regions. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Suddenly, a ray of light bloomed in the sky. Then this ray of light became brighter and brighter. "It's here," said a martial monarch. Everyone's spirits were shaken as they looked into the depths of the sky. "It's here? What's here?" Everyone was curious. Rumble. The sky trembled. Following which, the crowd saw a path extending all the way toward them. It was an ancient bluestone path that was mottled with time. Chapter 2106. Deep in the sky, a road had appeared and extended downwards, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Where did this road come from? Or rather, where did it lead to? Was the so-called opportunity related to this road? The crowd looked carefully and realized that there was an end to the road. At the end of the road, there was a door of light. They wondered where the door led to. "Everyone, let me tell you what the opportunity is." At this moment, a white-haired elder stepped out from the sky. He was obviously a great emperor and a very powerful one at that. "The end of this road leads to a corner of the world." Why is it called a corner of the world? That's because that corner of the world was separated from the primordial realm when it first opened. It still retains the scene of the primordial realm when it first opened. Over there, the laws are extremely clear and the innate origin chi is rich. Regardless of whether one cultivates the laws or the archaic system, one's cultivation speed will be astonishingly fast there. The white-haired great emperor said. There was an uproar at the scene. It was actually a corner of the world when the primordial realm first opened. It still retained the scene of the primordial realm when it first opened. It was definitely an unimaginable opportunity for cultivation. Opportunity, it was really a great opportunity. Countless people's eyes were burning with passion, including those martial emperors. To cultivate to the martial emperor realm, one had to evolve a small world. Entering the corner of the world when the primordial realm first opened was definitely a great improvement and promotion for the evolution of a small world. It was no wonder that those who entered had a great chance of breaking through to the martial emperor realm. This corner of the world was obtained by an almighty from the void. This time, it's used as a reward for the geniuses who passed the selection. However, this corner of the world is not big after all and has been here for too long. It's very useful for those below the martial emperor realm or low-level illusionary emperors. If one's cultivation is higher, it won't be of much use. The white-haired elder explained once again, causing many martial emperors to sigh. Go in. You only have 2 years in there. 2 years later, that Almighty will send you out. How much you can gain in there depends on yourselves. 2 years later, the battle of the 10 Earths will truly begin. The white-haired great emperor announced. 2 years, they had 2 years. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had to make good use of these 2 years. Now, let's go along this ancient road. The white-haired great emperor said. Bush. Following the white-haired martial monarch's words, several figures stepped onto the ancient path and proceeded upward. Let's go too. On the autumn moon, Lu Xiang and the others also set foot on the ancient road. Xinghe, Yuan Xen, Mu Yang, and the others also stepped onto the ancient path and headed into the depths of the sky. The person at the front had already reached the end. He stepped into the door of light and disappeared. All around, countless people were extremely envious. This was especially so for the young geniuses. Their eyes were burning with passion, but there was nothing they could do. This was a great opportunity. They knew that this batch of 320 people would definitely become stronger after 2 years. The gap between them and these people would widen even further. The strong would always be strong. However, no one dared to sneak in. With so many great emperors here, it was impossible to sneak in. Lu Ming also stepped onto the ancient path, ascending step by step. Soon, Lu Ming reached the end of the ancient path and arrived at the door of light. Without hesitation, Lu Ming stepped in. Following this, the 320 geniuses stepped into the glowing door and disappeared into it. At this moment, the ancient path began to retract and enter the door of light. Following that, the door of light also disappeared in the air. Senior, I wonder which powerful figure obtained this corner of the world. Someone asked. Some of the powerful figures were thinking that if they could pay a visit to this powerful figure and let some of their juniors enter to cultivate, the benefits would be great. He's from the heavenly realm. The white-haired great emperor said. Everyone shut up. It was actually a powerful figure from the heavenly realm. At the same time, everyone was secretly shocked. Could it be that a powerful figure from the heavenly realm was paying attention to the battle of 10 Earths this time? Everyone, come back in 2 years. The white-haired great emperor said. Then he took a step forward and left. 2 years later, who will rise and fall? Someone whispered. They were looking forward to it. Then, everyone dispersed, and the vicinity of the mountain of destiny returned to silence. After Lu Ming stepped into the door of light, the world spun, and in the next moment he found himself on a protruding rock. What a strong pressure! As soon as he appeared, Lu Ming could feel endless pressure coming toward him from all directions. It was as if there were hundreds of mountains pressing down on him at all times. Bang! Lu Ming tried to take a step forward, and the ground rumbled. Lu Ming's body was as heavy as a mountain. Is this the corner of the world that the primordial realm first opened? Lu Ming whispered and looked around. What greeted his eyes was an endless stretch of rocks. There were rocks everywhere, and the ground was bare. There was no vegetation at all, and there were no living creatures either. A desolate, ancient aura swept across the place. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered that the connate origin energy here was unimaginably rich. As he inhaled and exhaled, dense Xiantian origin energy turned into beams of light that shot into his mouth. Also, Lu Ming felt that the laws here were extremely clear. When he spread out his spiritual sense, it was as if his body was bathed in endless laws. Lu Ming channeled his sacred power into his eyes and was shocked. At this moment, everything in front of Lu Ming's eyes changed. Between heaven and earth, there were tiny ribbons swimming, emitting all kinds of light. It was as if thousands of thin ribbons formed this world. Those were the threads of laws, which could only be formed when the laws were clear and rich to the extreme. The world at the beginning of heaven and earth, this is the world at the beginning of heaven and earth. Lu Ming muttered to himself, his eyes full of surprise. Legend had it that when heaven and earth first opened and all things evolved, the cultivation environment at that time was the best. The laws were clear, and the connate origin energy was rich. Cultivating would be much faster. The middle-aged great emperor was right. This was an opportunity. If a quasi-emperor cultivator cultivated here, their chances of becoming an emperor would definitely be greatly increased. However, when heaven and earth first opened, it was like a desolate world. The pressure between heaven and earth is too great. Lu Ming sighed. He couldn't fly here at all. Not to mention flying, even walking for a while would probably exhaust the sacred power in his body. The best way was to stay where he was and cultivate quietly. In fact, almost everyone who came in was like this. They all sat cross-legged and cultivated quietly. This was a rare opportunity. They only had 2 years, so they naturally had to cherish it. Chapter 2107. Lu Ming cleared his mind and began to comprehend the primal chaos law. Suddenly, he felt that the primal chaos law between heaven and earth was much clearer than the outside world. With a thought, the primal chaos law between heaven and earth flew toward Lu Ming and surrounded Lu Ming. From the outside, Lu Ming's body was covered in a layer of light, holy and unparalleled. Lu Ming felt that his understanding of the primal chaos law was constantly deepening. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Boom! Lu Ming's aura suddenly erupted and rose. The primal chaos law roared and filled Lu Ming's body. With a thought, the primal chaos law between heaven and earth was easily controlled by Lu Ming. It formed the shape of a river and circled around Lu Ming. The primal chaos law had become a river. The primal chaos law had finally broken through its shackles and reached the perfect stage, forming the shape of a river. When the primal chaos law became a river, it did not mean that the primal chaos law actually became a river. With a thought, the primal chaos law would condense together like a river. Then, the primal chaos law continued to pour into Lu Ming's body, helping Lu Ming to refine his body and saint power. Last time, when the primal chaos law had reached perfection, Lu Ming already had experience. This time, it was a walk in the park. 2 days later, Lu Ming's aura completely stabilized. My strength and saint power have both skyrocketed. Lu Ming carefully sensed the changes in his body and revealed a look of joy. The strongest primal chaos law had become a river. Stepping into the boundary emperor realm, the refinement of the body and saint power was much stronger than the primal chaos law. Last time, when the primal chaos law had broken through, his body and saint power had also improved. But this time, the improvement was even greater. In his dantian, the saint heart was crystal clear and filled with endless saint power. As the saint heart spun, endless saint power poured into his meridians like a river. There was a faint glow circulating in Lu Ming's body. It was filled with endless power. Powerful. Too powerful. Lu Ming felt that his combat strength had skyrocketed again. Now, let's begin to comprehend the death law and devour law. Lu Ming looked expectant. If the death precepts and the devouring precepts were both perfected, how strong would his body and saint power be? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation and began to comprehend. This world was indeed blessed by the heavens in terms of comprehension of laws. It was much faster than the outside world. Not only that, but this piece of heaven and earth was left behind when the primordial realm was first formed. It was of great help to the evolution of a small world. However, Lu Ming had not reached the stage of breaking through to martial emperor yet. Cultivation knew no time. Under Lu Ming's single-minded cultivation, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another half a year had passed. In half a year, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated the death law and the devouring law to 99% completion. This speed was already astonishingly fast. In the outside world, it would take at least 5 years to achieve such a feat. However, After raising it to 99%, it would be very difficult to cultivate it to perfection in one go. It would take time to accumulate. At that moment, Lu Ming began to think. He wanted to cultivate other nomological laws. What law should I cultivate? Lu Ming frowned and thought carefully. After all, he could cultivate many kinds of laws. When the laws were combined, it would greatly increase his strength. Moreover, comprehending the laws in this world was too fast. He did not want to miss it. He wanted to comprehend other laws. The law of force. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming decided to cultivate the law of force. The law of force was the ultimate power. It would allow his every strike to carry a terrifying force. Moreover, Long Chen and Huang Li both cultivated the law of force. Lu Ming had sparred with Long Chen and Huang Li many times. He had a better understanding of the law of force. It would be easier for him to comprehend it. Moreover, as more laws were perfected, Lu Ming's body and saint power would become stronger. In addition to the law of chaos, which was as heavy as a mountain, his attacks would become more ferocious and overbearing. If he added the law of force, his attacks would be even more terrifying. Lu Ming began to seriously comprehend the law of force. This world was indeed different. In just a few days, Lu Ming felt that he had grasped the knack of it. He became more serious in comprehending it. More than 10 days later, Lu Ming really did comprehend the law of force. When he threw a punch, it carried the power of the limit. Its power was shocking. From then on, he comprehended the law of death, the law of devouring, and the law of force at the same time. He alternated between comprehending each for a few days. In this way, another 3 months passed. The law of devouring was finally perfected. The law of force formed a river. Lu Ming's body and saint power were greatly strengthened again. 3 months after the breakthrough of the law of devouring, Lu Ming had been here for more than a year. The law of death had also broken through. The law of force formed a river and reached perfection. His body and saint power were once again tempered. Now, Lu Ming felt that his saint power was surging. It was terrifyingly powerful. His physical body was filled with explosive power. He felt that he could now destroy a 1-star martial emperor with just the power of his body. This was not an illusion. He was really too strong. Lu Ming did not know how strong he was now. The 4 laws were all perfected. The law of force formed a river. 2 supreme laws and 2 monarch laws. His body and saint power had been tempered 4 times. The power of the 4 perfected laws was absolutely terrifying. In addition, Lu Ming had also cultivated the law of force to an extremely high level. He was not far from the law of force formed a river. When Lu Ming had been here for a year and 3 months, his law of force had also broken through and reached perfection. Lu Ming's combat strength skyrocketed again. Bam, bam. Lu Ming cast the Chaos Divine Palm and moved freely. The 5 types of laws merged, and there was a rumbling explosion in heaven and earth. It was as if a large bell was vibrating and was about to explode. Awesome, awesome! After a long time, Lu Ming stopped and let out a long breath. His eyes were shining. The pressure of this world was incomparably great. However, Lu Ming's body was now too strong. He felt that he did not need saint power. He could withstand it with his body and travel far away. This was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. The perfected laws don't seem to be the true perfected laws. Then Lu Ming considered the problem of the laws. He had comprehended 5 laws in a row. He realized that the so-called perfected laws were only at a certain stage. It was not the end and he could continue to break through. In fact, he had heard Uncle Kong mention that the laws were the foundation of the world. They were very profound and were far from simple. The so-called perfected laws of quasi-emperors were only the first stage of perfection. The comprehension of the laws was divided into several stages. However, it was very difficult to break through. Ordinary void emperors would find it difficult to break through. However, Lu Ming only thought about it for a while and did not think about it. He was still some distance away from breaking through to martial emperor. I have already been here for a year and 3 months. There is not much time left. I will not comprehend the other laws for now. I will consolidate the 5 laws and reach the stage where I can break through to martial emperor as soon as possible. Chapter 2108. Lu Ming entered a selfless state of cultivation. All the geniuses who entered this place had great gains. Boom! A 2- or 3-year-old girl's aura soared as she sat on a rock. Her emperor's might spread out like a deep sea. Soon, a lightning tribulation descended, but this little girl easily passed it. I finally broke through to martial emperor. Chirp! The little girl muttered. This little girl was none other than Bubble. In another valley, a lightning tribulation also surged. Soon, the lightning tribulation disappeared, and a youth appeared. It was Mu Yang. At this moment, a strong aura spread out from his body. That was Emperor's might. He had also broken through to martial emperor. Ha! I finally broke through to martial emperor. The next time I meet that brat Tianyun, I will definitely grind his bones to dust. Mu Yang laughed loudly, brimming with confidence. After breaking through to martial emperor, his strength had soared. He was 100% confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Of course, he did not know that Tianyun was Lu Ming. He only thought that it was Tianyun. They were not the only ones. Many people had broken through. Imperial River, Heng Xinghe, Death Blade, Gulong. These Azure children were originally quasi-emperors. After accumulating in this place for so long, they all broke through their shackles and stepped into martial emperor. In fact, even some people with king bodies made breakthroughs and became martial emperors. There was a huge gap between quasi-emperor and martial emperor. It was extremely difficult to break through, requiring a long time to accumulate. If it were outside, it would not be so fast. Without 10 years of accumulation, it would be very difficult to break through. However, in this place, many people broke through in just over a year. This was a great opportunity. As for Yuan Xin and Wu Liang, who were already martial emperors, they took another step forward, their cultivations becoming stronger. Everyone was improving and their strength soared. In the blink of an eye, 1 year and 8 months had passed since they entered this place. At this moment, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. He felt that his cultivation had reached a limit. He planned to take a break before trying to break through to martial emperor. This place is filled with energy. I wonder if there are any natural treasures. Why don't I check it out? Lu Ming started thinking. Others could not travel far, but he could because his physical body was too strong. He wanted to walk around. In particular, he found that this place was not flat. There was a slope, and he was in the middle of the slope. He wanted to follow the slope to the top to take a look. Lu Ming started to move. He followed the slope and went up. The slope here wasn't steep, but it did go straight up. Lu Ming also found that the higher it went, the greater the pressure. Although this increase was not large, it was indeed slowly becoming stronger. However, with Lu Ming's physical strength, he could still withstand it. Lu Ming walked along the slope for 3 days, but he didn't find anything. Everywhere was smooth and there were no living creatures, nor did he find anyone who came in from the outside. Lu Ming guessed that the people who came in from outside might be at the bottom of the slope. Lu Ming walked for another day. He suddenly realized that the ground had become flat. He seemed to have reached the highest point. As far as the eye could see, there were protruding rocks in front of them, like small hills. Of course, there were also some peaks, but there was no vegetation. And here, the origin energy of heaven and earth seemed to be denser. Lu Ming went forward. He was still unwilling to give up and wanted to search. Soon he came to a valley. There's someone. After entering the valley, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he saw 2 figures. 2 young men, who looked to be in their 20s, were sitting there cross-legged. These 2 people were very unfamiliar. Lu Ming definitely had not seen them before. They were not any of the 320 people who came in. That was because when they were waiting on the Mountain of Destiny, the 320 people had all looked at each other. With their memories, they would have an impression of each other as long as they saw each other once. However, Lu Ming did not have any impression of these 2 young men. One of the 2 young men was dressed in a black robe. He had pitch black hair and a cold expression. The other young man had long purple hair and was extremely handsome. He had an indescribable temperament that made it hard for people to forget him after a single glance. Who are they? Why are they here? Lu Ming was very puzzled. Apart from the 320 people, there were others who came in? At this moment, the two young men also saw Lu Ming and looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Who is he? He's very unfamiliar. I've never seen him before. The black-haired young man said with a cold and arrogant voice. The purple-haired young man looked thoughtful. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said, "Could he be a prodigy of the primordial realm? Recently, I heard that some prodigies of the primordial realm have also entered this world to cultivate." Hearing the conversation between the two, Lu Ming was shocked. What did he mean? The purple-haired young man said that he was a prodigy of the primordial realm. Could it be that he was not from the primordial realm? Could he be from the heavenly realm? Lu Ming immediately thought of the heavenly realm. But why would someone from the heavenly realm appear here? Where are you from? Heavenly realm? Or the primordial realm? The black-haired young man seemed to show a hint of interest. The primordial realm. May I ask who you are? Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, "As expected, you are from the primordial realm. I didn't expect that there would be someone from the primordial realm who could come here. It seems that your cultivation is not weak. I'm really curious. What is the cultivation of a prodigy of the primordial realm?" The one who spoke was still the black-haired young man. After saying that, the black-haired young man got up. His eyes were full of fighting spirit as he stepped toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming was surprised. It seemed that these two people were really from the heavenly realm. At the same time, Lu Ming was also speechless. They had just met and the black-haired young man looked like he was about to attack. Boom! The black-haired young man stepped forward, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. It was the Emperor's aura. The black-haired young man was a martial emperor. "Come on, let me see your strength." The black-haired young man's footsteps became faster and faster. In the end, he turned into a black lightning bolt and rushed toward Lu Ming. At the same time, he blasted out a palm. A terrifying palm force blasted toward Lu Ming. The power of reincarnation. This is a son of heaven. Lu Ming's eyes moved. The black-haired young man's palm contained the law of reincarnation. Boom! Lu Ming also made his move and similarly blasted out a palm. The two people's palms blasted out, and a rumble erupted. The entire valley shook. Not bad, then. The black-haired young man's palm continued to strike out. He struck out dozens of times in a row, and the power was extremely shocking. Lu Ming used the law of primal chaos to fight against his opponent. After dozens of moves, it was difficult to determine the winner. A mere quasi-emperor actually has such strong combat strength. Your physical body is so strong. Impossible. Could it be that you are a primordial body cultivator? No, that's not right. How could a primordial body cultivator cultivate the law? The black-robed young man spoke continuously, full of surprise. Even the purple-haired young man looked at Lu Ming with some surprise. This guy is so strong. Lu Ming was also quite shocked. Chapter 2109. You're not weak either, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming was just speaking the truth, but the black-haired youth was not happy. His cold and arrogant face became gloomy, thinking that Lu Ming had underestimated him. "Kid, I didn't use my full strength just now. Do you think you can compete with me? I'll use my full strength now. Let's see how many moves you can take." The black-haired youth said coldly, and his aura became even more oppressive. At this moment, the purple-haired youth said, "Junior brother, don't make a move. Time is almost up." The black-haired youth's face changed. He looked coldly at Lu Ming and said, "This time I'll let you go." After saying that, he turned and left, stepping into a cave with the purple-haired youth. There was a cave in the depths of the valley. It seemed that the two youths had been waiting outside the cave for something. It seems that there's some kind of treasure in this cave, Lu Ming thought. After thinking about it, Lu Ming still did not go in. The two youths were obviously peerless geniuses of the heavenly realm. Lu Ming did not want to offend them for no reason. I'd better leave first and go elsewhere to take a look, Lu Ming thought to himself, then turned and left the valley. At this moment he could not calm down. It seemed that this place was not simple. There were geniuses of the heavenly realm. Could it be that this corner of the world was not taken out by the elites of the primordial realm, but by the elites of the heavenly realm? Lu Ming's imagination ran wild. After that, Lu Ming walked for another 2 days and finally found a strange place in a kernel. There was a spring that looked like a devil's pool or a spirit's pool. Khanate origin chi was constantly emanating from it, and the energy was shockingly high. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He planned to let the Celestial Emperor's body absorb the energy here. As long as the energy of the Celestial Emperor's body reached a certain amount, he would be able to control it. He would not have so many scruples when doing things. Immediately, Lu Ming took out the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body and operated the technique to control the corporeal body of heaven and earth. He began to absorb the energy here. This place was filled with innate origin energy, and the energy was frighteningly abundant. As soon as Lu Ming activated the method to control the Sky Emperor's body, the incomparably rich energy from all directions converged towards the Sky Emperor's body. Moreover, the quality of the energy here was also very high. The energy storage of the Celestial Emperor's body was rapidly increasing. At all times, he could feel the energy in the Sky Emperor's body increasing and strengthening. In a short few days, the energy of the Heavenly Emperor's physical body reached 10%. When it reached 10%, Lu Ming would be able to control it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. However, he did not stop. He continued to control the Celestial Emperor's body and madly absorb the energy. Since there was so much energy here, he might as well absorb more of it. The more energy stored, the more powerful the Celestial Emperor's physical body would be. A month later, the energy here had almost dried up. It had been completely absorbed, and the energy in the Celestial Emperor's body had reached an astonishing 36%. One must know that previously, the highest amount of energy stored in the Celestial Emperor's body was only 16%. The power of 36% was absolutely terrifying and astonishing. It would be great if I could completely replenish the energy of the Celestial Emperor's body. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he was very tempted. If the energy of the Celestial Emperor's body reached 100%, then in the era when the Celestial Emperor did not appear, he would really be able to do whatever he wanted. Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. He immediately set off to look for other similar springs. Unfortunately, this kind of spring was extremely rare. Lu Ming searched for a few days in a row, but he did not find any. Lu Ming did not give up and searched for a few more days. After searching for more than 10 days in a row, Lu Ming finally gave up. Time was precious here, and he could not afford to waste any time. Lu Ming began to prepare to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. He found a secluded place, sat cross-legged, and adjusted his state. A few days later, his state reached its peak, and his essence, chi, and spirit were perfect. Lu Ming began to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. To break through to the Martial Emperor realm, one had to use the Saint Heart as the core and the laws as the core to evolve a small world. The laws were the foundation of a small world. With the laws, the small world could be constantly perfected. Therefore, first, one had to use the laws to evolve the heart of the world in the Saint Heart. Then, the heart of the world and the Saint Heart combined to evolve the small world. It was as if the world was being created. Normally, when people broke through, they would use one kind of law as the core to evolve the heart of the world. After breaking through to the Martial Emperor realm, one would comprehend other laws and add other laws to the small world. The more laws added, the more the small world would be perfected. However, Lu Ming controlled 5 kinds of laws, so he had to use the 5 laws to evolve the heart of the world. Otherwise, if he only used one kind of law, it would be impossible for him to succeed. Begin! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He controlled the 5 kinds of laws and sent them into the Saint Heart to evolve the heart of the world. However, at this moment, his body shook violently, and he felt as if his Saint Heart was about to burst. Even his body felt like it was being torn apart by an energy. He quickly stopped and spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. How could this be? Lu Ming's face turned ugly. When he broke through, the 5 kinds of laws entered the Saint Heart and clashed with each other, creating a terrifying force that almost exploded the Saint Heart and tore his body apart. Could it be that those below the Martial Emperor realm who cultivate many kinds of laws can't break through to the Martial Emperor realm? No, I don't believe it. Lu Ming began to adjust his breathing and heal his injured body. A few days later, his injuries were healed and he tried to break through to the Martial Emperor realm again, but he still failed. Impossible, I'll try to evolve the heart of the world with one kind of law. Lu Ming was unwilling to give up and wanted to change his strategy. However, he still failed. Because of the 5 kinds of laws, when he controlled one kind of law to evolve in the Saint Heart, the other 4 kinds of laws automatically entered. He couldn't control them even if he wanted to, and Lu Ming was injured again. How could this be? Lu Ming whispered, extremely unwilling. If he couldn't break through to the Martial Emperor realm, it would be a huge blow to him. No, maybe my cultivation isn't enough and I need to consolidate. Maybe there are other ways. I can definitely become a Martial Emperor. Lu Ming clenched his fists and took a deep breath to calm himself down. Maybe it wasn't time to break through to the Martial Emperor realm yet, so he would wait for a while. However, Lu Ming naturally didn't dare to comprehend new laws now. The more laws he comprehended, the harder it would be to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. There's still some time. Why don't I comprehend the use of laws? I control 5 kinds of laws. If I can create a corresponding divine skill, its power will definitely skyrocket. Lu Ming put aside the matter of breaking through to the Martial Emperor realm and began to think about his own combat strength. Now, his divine skills were all based on a single law, such as the chaotic divine palm, chaotic calamity finger, eyes of death, and the 3 scrolls of array principles. Moreover, the so-called fusion of laws was just a rough fusion of laws to strengthen their power. Chapter 2110. To put it bluntly, Lu Ming was using laws now as if he was using brute force. He did not unleash the wonders of laws at all. He heard Uncle Kong say that after reaching Martial Emperor, one could comprehend many kinds of laws. Different people would naturally have great differences in the laws they comprehended. The fusion of different laws would also give rise to different divine abilities. Those divine abilities contained several different kinds of laws and their power was shocking. It was not something that a single law divine ability could compare to. A single law divine ability could only be considered a low-level divine ability. Some laws contained many kinds of divine abilities and their power was simply earth-shattering. Above Martial Emperor, there were some ancient scriptures that had corresponding records. However, those ancient scriptures were shockingly valuable. There's only a single law divine ability in the Chaos Scripture. That's not right. Lu Ming thought of the Chaos Scripture. He guessed that the Chaos Scripture he obtained was incomplete. Logically speaking, the Chaos Scripture was the inheritance left behind by the Chaos Emperor. It definitely did not only have low-level divine abilities. It definitely had different laws and divine abilities that fused with the Chaos Law. Perhaps, the Chaos Scripture I obtained is really incomplete. Lu Ming pondered. He did not have the corresponding divine ability in his hands, so he could only rely on himself to explore. In the following time, he focused on exploring the use of fusion between different laws. Time passed very quickly. 2 years were almost up. After several months of exploration, Lu Ming finally had some gains. He discovered that it was too difficult to comprehend any divine ability between the Chaos Law and the Death Law. It was not just a saying that the strongest laws were incompatible. However, Lu Ming had created 2 different types of divine powers. Their powers were astonishing. They were respectively the fusion of the Chaos Law, the Array Path Law, the Devour Law, and the Strength Law to create a divine ability. Lu Ming named it Chaos Hammer. When using this move, he could condense a giant hammer with astonishing power. In addition, with the fusion of the Death Law, the Devour Law, the Array Path Law, and the Strength Law, he created a divine ability. Lu Ming named it Death Sword. After using it, it formed a battle sword that cut through everything. Of course, this was only a preliminary comprehension. The power of the various laws was not fully unleashed. To be able to reach this step in such a short time, Lu Ming's comprehension was already extremely terrifying. As he slowly cultivated and comprehended it in the future and perfected it, the mysteries of the various laws would erupt. The power of these two moves would become stronger and stronger. However, although it was only a preliminary comprehension, it was much stronger than purely relying on the fusion of laws. This allowed his battle prowess to increase tremendously once again. After entering this world for 2 years, Lu Ming's combat ability had improved tremendously. It's almost time. Lu Ming looked up at the sky. Buzz. All of a sudden, a powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. Given his current strength, he was still powerless in the face of this force. His body disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he realized that he had appeared in a void. In front of him, there was a huge door of light. Beside him, figures flashed and appeared one after another. Autumn, autumn, bubble, bubbles, 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 bubbles. He also saw Yuan Exin, Mu Yang, and the others. When Mu Yang saw Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. This time, he was full of confidence. He had become a martial emperor and his strength had skyrocketed. He was confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Many people's eyes were filled with confidence. Everyone had improved greatly. Go out. A voice suddenly came from the sky. It sounded very old. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They knew that the owner of this world had spoken. He was definitely a terrifying expert. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had more thoughts. He had seen 2 geniuses from the heaven domain. The owner of this world was most likely from the heaven domain. Everyone stepped into the door of light and disappeared. Destiny Mountain. During this period, countless people had gathered. There were even more people than 2 years ago. 2 years had passed. The Battle of the 10 Lands was about to begin. Also, 320 geniuses had entered the world left behind by the primordial world. How much had they gained? How much had their strength improved? Could it be that many people had already stepped into the martial emperor realm? Everyone was very curious. In the sky above the mountain peak, figures shrouded in divine light stood there like gods. These were all martial emperors from all over the world. Uncle Kong had arrived at the primordial mountain and stood together with martial emperor Wuxia. In addition, martial emperors Heng, He, and Tianluo had all arrived. Not only that, but many experts from the various sacred grounds had also come. For example, the ancient moon sacred ground had sent people to participate in the first battle of the 10 lands since the ancient times. Everyone was waiting quietly. Suddenly, a door of light appeared in the sky. They're coming out. Everyone revealed a look of anticipation as they looked at the door of light. Not long after, figures walked out of the door of light and stood in the void. 320 people, not one more, not one less. There has indeed been great progress. Many people have stepped into the martial emperor realm. The martial emperors and true emperors looked carefully and revealed a look of shock. Given the cultivation level of a great emperor and a true emperor, it was not difficult for them to see through the cultivation level of Lu Ming and the rest. Alright, 2 years have passed. The Battle of the 10 Lands will now begin. Everyone step back a little. A white-haired old man stepped out, his voice echoing in all directions. He was the host of this gathering, an old monster from Destiny City. Everyone retreated, including the martial emperors, leaving the Destiny Mountain empty. The white-haired old man waved his hand and light filled the sky above the mountain. Stone platforms appeared out of thin air. Each stone platform was very large, like a battle stage. There were a total of 320 pieces. The next competition is very simple. Each of you will choose a stone platform and step on it. There are formations set up on these stone platforms, and they operate according to their own rules. As soon as you step onto them, the stone platforms will move. Whenever 2 stone platforms collide with each other, the 2 participants will face off against one another until the top 10 are determined. The white-haired old man announced. Everyone's eyes flashed. So that was the rule. But didn't this rule have a lot to do with luck? However, many people had confident looks in their eyes. They were confident in their own strength and believed that they could defeat any opponent they met. This time, everyone had gained a lot. They were all eager to show off their strength in front of countless people. "I'll go first." Someone moved. A tall and sturdy figure rushed onto a stone platform. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 21:11. Lu Ming also casually chose a stone platform and stepped onto it. When Lu Ming stepped onto the stone platform, he discovered that there was a force on the stone platform that enveloped his entire body. In the blink of an eye, a person stood on each of the 320 stone platforms. Then, all the stone platforms slowly began to move as if they had formed some kind of pattern. Soon, 2 of the stone platforms flew toward the center and collided with each other. On the 2 stone platforms, the gazes of the 2 youths collided, both filled with intense battle intent. Boom, boom. Powerful auras erupted from both of them, as if a long river surrounded their bodies. Quasi-emperors. Both of their cultivations were at the quasi-emperor realm. It's one of the monarch Dao's laws of destruction. Both of them are the same. Someone cried out, recognizing the laws of both of them. The 2 youths actually controlled the same laws. "We both control the law of destruction, but you're not my match." One of them said, very confident. "You're the one who's going to lose." The other person was also very confident. Boom. The 2 of them engaged in an intense battle. Both of them had reached the quasi-emperor realm, and their combat strength was astonishing. Moreover, they had grasped the same kind of law and their cultivation was similar, so their combat strength was not much different. The 2 of them fought fiercely, and the battle continued for more than 200 rounds before the victor was decided. In the end, one of them was slightly better and defeated his opponent, sending his opponent flying out of the stone platform. After his victory, his stone platform brought him back to the center of the others, while the stone platform of the defeated person turned to dust and dissipated. The defeated person was very unwilling to accept this. He became the first person to be eliminated in the Battle of 10 Lands. There was a simple rule for this competition. That was, one could admit defeat before the competition. If one did not admit defeat, once the battle began, one would be responsible for one's own life and death. Of course, one could also rush off the stone platform and admit defeat. After the first round ended, the stone platforms began to spin again. Soon, 2 more stone platforms flew toward the center and collided with each other. Boom. The 2 youths on the stone platforms directly engaged in an intense battle. Without a doubt, they were also 2 people with the monarch Dao. In fact, those who could enter the top 80 in each battle zone were all people with the monarch Dao, and their cultivation was not weak. After cultivating for another 2 years in that world, the weakest of them all advanced to quasi-emperor. What was surprising was that the nomological laws that these 2 monarch bodies controlled were the same. Could it be because of the stone platform? Lu Ming thought of the stone platform. Previously, when he stepped on the stone platform, there was a wave of energy that enveloped him. Would that energy be able to sense the laws? Or perhaps there were other uses. Not only Lu Ming, but the others also thought so. As expected, the majority of the people who fought next all grasped the same laws. This was to let those with the same type of law determine the victor. So powerful, they are all quasi-emperors. Moreover, he's already at the stage where he's about to evolve a small world. He's about to become an emperor. Many people sighed. Indeed, in these 2 years, everyone had made great progress. Many people had not become great emperors, but they were not far from it. Some of the youths were especially envious. There were some people whose cultivation levels were about the same as theirs before, but now, the gap between them had completely widened. Some people were still stuck at the peak of the absolute saint realm. Even though there were a few who had broken through to the quasi-emperor realm in the past 2 years, they were still far from evolving a small world. The battle was very intense. In each battle, the difference in cultivation levels was not big. Moreover, the laws were the same. At least 100 moves were needed to determine the victor. Half a day later, only 10 pairs of people had fought. In the 11th battle, Lu Ming saw a familiar face. Longchen. Moreover, Long Chen had already broken through to the martial emperor realm. 2 years ago, he was already a quasi-emperor. It was normal for him to take the opportunity to break through this time. His opponent was also a martial emperor who controlled the law of force. The two of them clashed with each other. However, in the end, Long Chen cultivated the immemorial dragon-esque elephant body. His combat strength was stronger, and he defeated his opponent in a violent manner. This was the first time that there was such a great disparity in strength between two people of the same law and the same level. The bloodlines of the top 10 battle beasts are indeed extraordinary. Indeed, it is said that the further they advance, the more extraordinary they are. After reaching the martial emperor realm, they will be even stronger. Some of the older generation people discussed. The battle continued. After that, Lu Ming saw that Huang Li, Luo Xiang, Autumn Moon, and the others had gone up one by one. Huang Li, Luo Xiang, Autumn Moon, and the others had indeed broken through the shackles and reached the martial emperor realm. They were one-star illusionary emperors. They had also defeated their opponents. However, the crowd could also see that most of the battles were of the same law. However, it was not absolute. There were also battles between different laws. It was very exciting. Lu Ming was dazzled by the various laws of the King Dao. This was indeed a great era. In the past, there were very few laws of the King Dao. However, they had all appeared now. The battles continued for a few days and people were constantly eliminated. There were no rules in the battles. It was not like one could wait for the others to finish their battles after one battle. It was not like that. Some people had just finished their battles and it was their turn again after a few battles. It was completely based on the independent movement of the stone platform. Some people were unlucky and encountered terrifying geniuses at the beginning. For example, some people encountered Yuan Xian, Wu Liang, Ancient Demon, and the others. They were almost defeated in one move and could not resist at all. Lu Ming also saw Xiang Xiang and Ouyang Moli make their moves. After all, the two of them had not cultivated for long and were considered rising stars. They had not broken through to the martial emperor realm. However, they had reached the stage of evolving small worlds and were only one step away from the martial emperor realm. As long as they consolidated for a while, they would be able to break through. They easily defeated their opponents. The stone platform moved. Lu Ming drifted forward and collided with a stone platform. Finally, it was Lu Ming's turn to fight. Lu Ming's first opponent was a quasi-emperor with a martial emperor physique. "Do you want to admit defeat?" Lu Ming asked seriously. Lu Ming was not interested in a quasi-emperor with a martial emperor physique. The difference was too great. "If you want me to admit defeat, it depends on whether you have the ability to do so." The opponent sneered. It was a young man wrapped in a black robe. His face was pale. At this moment he took out a staff. "Curse, weakening. Curse, deadly poison. Curse, corrosion." The young man immediately made his move. He waved his staff and a stream of energy suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's body and shrouded him. "This is the law of curses." Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. The law of curses was an extremely rare law of kings. It was very strange and very powerful. With the power of curses, it could kill people without leaving a trace. A stream of strange energy from his body desperately drilled into Lu Ming's body. An ordinary quasi-emperor physique would not be able to withstand it. Chapter 21:12. Right now, Lu Ming's physical body was too strong. His essence energy surged, and his blood qi was like a furnace. Every muscle of his body was filled with explosive power. Roar! Lu Ming's body moved and a dragon's roar could be heard from his body. Every pore on his body spewed out blood and qi like flames. The strange energy that shrouded his body turned into smoke and dissipated with a sizzling sound. How can this be? The expression of the youth who controlled the curse law changed drastically. He wanted to use the curse law again to deal with Lu Ming. "Get down," Lu Ming said as he threw a punch. This punch was a punch of pure physical strength. This punch was like a meteor crashing into the sea. Space exploded like the sea, forming circular ripples that pressed towards the other party. The other party grunted and went flying. He coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and flew out of the platform. This was after Lu Ming held back. Otherwise, he would have killed the other party. Lu Ming easily obtained victory. However, although Shao Qin instantly defeated the other party, he did not attract too much attention. Although the curse law was strange and profound, that youth was only a quasi-emperor. Anyone present who was a martial emperor could kill him in one move. Humph! You only defeated a quasi-emperor. I really hope that you can run into me. Mu Yang smiled coldly, and his gaze turned even colder. He really hoped that he could run into Lu Ming. Then he could kill Lu Ming and wash away his previous humiliation. Lu Ming originally thought that his stone platform would move back. Unexpectedly, his stone platform did not move back. Instead, it moved and met with another stone platform. Consecutive battles. Many people were stunned for a moment before their expressions turned grave. This was the first time someone fought consecutively. They could not help being on guard. With the movement of the stone platforms, it seemed like anything was possible. They had to conserve their energy in the following battles. Otherwise, they would be at a disadvantage if they fought consecutively. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was a short-haired youth. He had sharp eyes and looked very valiant. Boom! Without any superfluous words, the other party directly burst forth with a terrifying aura. The aura brought about a strong wind as it pressed towards Lu Ming. Martial Emperor. The other party was a martial emperor with a king body. Mu Yang's eyes lit up. A martial emperor with a royal body would most likely be able to test out Lu Ming's strength. Not only Mu Yang, but some of the people from the southern theater of operations were also moved. 2 years ago, Lu Ming's battle prowess was absolute. He was able to defeat Mu Yang and was called a seed expert. Many people wanted to know what realm he had reached 2 years later. Burial Earth, be buried for me. The other party made a move. His body moved horizontally. In the process of moving, his body seemed to have transformed into a stone tablet, suppressing Lu Ming. This stone tablet was extremely similar to a tombstone. Lu Ming clenched his fist and punched out, slamming it into the tombstone. The tombstone trembled and was sent flying, reverting back to its human form. Kill! The short-haired young man roared and charged at Lu Ming again. This time, his body glowed and a layer of black light emanated from his body. He waved his hands and pieces of tombstones appeared one by one, constantly suppressing Lu Ming. Burial Earth Law. Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. Today, he had seen some mysterious laws. The Burial Earth Law could bury everything and kill it. Its power was extremely shocking. The short-haired young man used the Burial Earth Law to turn into a tombstone. He wanted to bury Lu Ming. The short-haired young man had already stepped into the martial emperor realm. His strength had soared, and he was much stronger than the genius who controlled the curse law. Lu Ming clenched his fist and punched out continuously, shattering the tombstones in the air. In the end, the short-haired young man's attack reached its peak. Large tombstones appeared in the sky, and he wanted to bury Lu Ming. The power was extremely terrifying. If someone of the same level was buried in the tombstones, it would be difficult for them to come out. Boom! An even more shocking aura erupted from Lu Ming's body as the death law permeated the air. This caused the other geniuses' eyes to narrow. Each of the Elysian children was not simple. They were worthy of attention as they were their opponents to enter the top 10. The death chi on Lu Ming's body became thicker and thicker. Finally, it turned into a long river that surrounded him. The laws formed a river. He has not yet become a martial emperor, just a quasi-emperor. Many people let out a long breath, relaxing. A quasi-emperor was not to be feared. He was destined to be a supporting character. After being in that small world for 2 years, he is still only a quasi-emperor. It looks like his talent is really lacking. Mu Yang rejoiced and could not help but mock. Humph! Even if his cultivation is low, he can still beat you up. Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago? Xiang was indignant and mocked. Although she did not recognize Lu Ming had helped them 2 years ago. She had a good impression of Lu Ming. Seeing Mu Yang mock Lu Ming, she also mocked him. At the mention of being beaten up, Mu Yang's expression turned unsightly as he said, "That was then and this is now. He does have some strength. However, if he meets me now, only death awaits him. I will make him die a miserable death. One step ahead, one step ahead. I have already become a martial emperor, but he is still a quasi-emperor. He will never be a match for me." Mu Yang smiled coldly, filled with confidence. Lu Xiang snorted coldly but did not say anything. At this moment, Lu Ming and the short-haired youth had already started fighting again. Lu Ming executed the death law, greatly increasing his combat prowess. When he executed the death eye, it was like combat weapons flew out of his eyes and destroyed the other party's tomb. Bang! In the end, Lu Ming charged over like a barbaric dragon, breaking through the other party's defenses and sending the short-haired youth flying off the stage. Lu Ming obtained victory in this battle. Did you see that? Even though he has not become a martial emperor, he can still defeat a martial emperor. Seeing that Lu Ming had won, Lu Xiang revealed a look of joy and gave Mu Yang a mocking look. "It's just defeating a martial emperor. What's the big deal?" Mu Yang smiled faintly. Although he said so, there was a trace of solemnity in his heart. Being able to defeat a martial emperor with a martial emperor's martial emperor physique was enough to prove how terrifying Lu Ming was. However, he was still confident that he could beat Lu Ming. There was still a big gap between a martial emperor and an Elysian child. After this battle, Lu Ming's stone platform was sent back. The battle continued. In the blink of an eye, another day had passed. Now, half of the original 320 stone platforms were left. Half of the participants had already been eliminated. At this moment, Luo Xiang encountered a terrifying opponent. Although Luo Xiang had already become a martial emperor, his opponent this time was also a martial emperor. Moreover, it was an Elysian child. There was no suspense in this battle. Although Luo Xiang tried his best and executed the speed law to the extreme, it was useless. His opponent directly broke through his speed law with terrifying strength and defeated Luo Xiang in a crushing manner. However, his opponent had no enmity with Luo Xiang. He only injured him and did not kill him. The subsequent battles became more and more brutal. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.